Good evening and welcome to Flat Earth Debate. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or one of the 50% of the people watching who have not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside the show while it is live, and if you would like to join the debate, with the page you are currently listening to me on muted, simply click on the link in the info box below this video to join the debate and express your views on the shape of the Earth. There are only a couple of rules in the Hangout. Number one, please do not swear. If you do, you will be ejected. If you are, however, you will be warmly welcome back on the next stream. With that, I'm going to transition across to my photographs so I can share the show on Facebook, Skype and Twitter, and I would encourage anybody who is in the live audience at the moment to please also do the same, so please share the show on social media. Once again, if you are new to this channel, or, like I say, one of the 50% of the people watching this that haven't clicked on the subscribe button, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Been joined by Lewis Hackett. How you doing, Lewis? Well, we have, but he's immediately left us, so we may get a hello in a moment. How you doing, Lewis?
Howdy do. Just had to throw a shirt on.
Oh, right, okay.
Pa, 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 pa. The birth is a ball. How you guys doing? Sleeping warrior! Lewis, how do you know the sun is 93 million miles away?
Good question. Been joined by Mark Taylor. Very pleased to have you here, Mark.
Yeah, what's up, Nathan? Yeah, what's up, Liz?
Sky,
Yeah, I've only
sun,
just come.
moon.
I'm only jumping in to just to clarify something that was said earlier in your hangout. Can you tell me if I start playing this clip? Can you tell me if you hear it, please? It's just a clip of the bet that me and Anthony Riley had. Can you just let me know if you hear it, please, Nathan?
I've put out about a few things. Jamie, just flip my share and present me to everyone. Oh, God.
What are you doing the magic trick?
There's £1,000, Mark Taylor. Solar eclipses happen every single month, and it's caused by the orbit of the moon going around the Earth. I bet you £1,000 solar eclipses happen every single month. The issue is we never see them because they're normally over the Earth, normally over the water. There's the £1,000, Mark Taylor. Put your money where your mouth is, or shut up, because you don't know what you're talking about. Okay? Thanks, Jamie.
Did you hear that, Nathan?
I heard it loud and clear.
Okay, no, I just wanted to make sure people could hear it because that was on my iPhone and on my iPad. Yeah, I just wanted to clarify. The reason I haven't continually asked for the money is because I know Anthony's dishonest. I know that he's not a man of his word. And that's why I don't continually ask for the money, because he's saying to people that I haven't asked for the money, and that's very telling because I lost the bet. You can clearly hear that he mentioned there was no mention of shadows going into space. He said the reason we don't see eclipses every month is because the shadow hits the ocean. So I just wanted to come in and clarify that because he's been lying again, and there's one thing I can't stand, it's a liar. Anyway, I'm off. Cheers, Nathan. See you later, Liz.
Yep.
Pleasure having you.
That's pretty clear and obvious bet.
Been joined by Sleeping Warrior. How you doing?
Zweihander.
I only stopped by just to address Mark's claim, Mark's comment there. Let me just knock off the sound in the background. Where is it?
We've
could
also been
address the
joined
clip
by
of
Alex
you
French just
making
while
the
you're
bet.
sorting your sound out.
Hey, hey, hey.
Hey, hey, hey.
Well, that was exciting, wasn't it? I'm really eager for Riley's response.
Well, I've dealt with it comprehensively in the video. I played all of the clips in context, in order, in the video. So when he snips out that one little bit, yeah, it sounds bad. But I would encourage everybody, and I'm going to drop a link into the side chat, into the public chat, so that everybody can go and listen to the video in full, in context. Mark, you do owe me the £1,000 because you were wrong. Your model states exactly the way I said it. Sometimes the eclipse happens on the Earth, or on the water, or in space. But it doesn't.
But in space, it would happen every second if it was in space, wouldn't it? Why limit yourself to a month?
It's not an eclipse if it's happening in space, because an eclipse is when the shadow touches the various bodies involved, not the open space. There's obviously a shadow all the time.
Yeah, but the point was it's the beginning or the end of and the beginning of the new lunar cycle, which happens every month. And the issue becomes, where does the shadow fall? And Mark's position is
there's always a shadow depending where
there are two times during the year when eclipses can occur, and they're commonly referred to as eclipse seasons. This is common. This is easily and widely understood.
How many times did you say there was an eclipse a year?
There are two opportunities during the year for eclipses to occur, and typically there can be between 1 and 3 eclipses in that time.
That's not true.
Do you want to bet on that?
No, it is true. It is true. Why don't you go make sure you know what you're talking about?
Oh, I know, but can you tell me why you think there are?
Oh, you know. Okay, is that why you made the bet before? Because you knew that.
Lewis, can you tell me why you think there are only 2 in a year?
Because it has to do with how the orbits intersect on a planar level.
Can you be a bit more?
If you have two planes, right? 2 orbits. There are 2 positions where they can intersect.
That's every month.
That is it. No, not every month. The Earth's orbit and the Sun's orbit are the two planes. Those are the two orbits that allow for this eclipse season to occur.
So let me play a graphic out of the video that I've put into chat, and you can explain it for me because I'm not understanding you, Lewis.
All right, let's see.
So let me know when it's if you could share, Nath. Now, forget about the.
Okay. Here's the first problem. Pause it. Oh no. Okay, never mind. Yeah, that's fine. Keep it going.
So forget about the wording. This is the graphic demonstrating the ecliptic plane of the moon in regards to the Earth and the light that it receives.
Yeah.
So your position is what? Just explain this to me.
So in order for the moon to be between the sun and the Earth, such that the Earth's or the moon's shadow falls on the Earth, the Earth's orbit has to be intersecting with the plane of the sun's orbit. Because just like the moon, in the same way that you see here, the moon is not orbiting the Earth in the same plane.
Yeah.
The Earth does not orbit the sun in the same plane.
This is
so
where
you have to have multiple planes lining up to have eclipse seasons.
Now, this is where I stated that sometimes the shadow's cast in space, sometimes the shadow's cast on the water, sometimes the shadow's cast on Earth. That is correct. My position was
that's not
correct.
what I heard in the bet you just made initially playing there.
Because he's taken one snippet of the whole context of the whole argument and played one snippet.
You added more to the bet later, at a later date.
I played all of the clips that are relevant in the response video, and it was
the only relevant one is the initiation of the bet.
That wasn't the initiation of the bet, though. That went further in.
Yes, it was. You showed the money. You said, put your money where your mouth is. Eclipses occur every month. That was the bet.
But it wasn't me that brought up the eclipse. It was Mark that brought up it, and we started to discuss it, and that was the final point where I was committing to the point. That was committing to the bet.
Which is that eclipses occur every month?
Yeah.
All the discussion prior to that, Mark has not played.
No, we listened to it.
It doesn't matter. Was there a bet made prior to that?
Whoa. We've been joined by Mark Taylor.
Okay, so we're talking about the bet.
Hold on a second, Lewis.
Yes.
Hold on. We've been joined by Mark Taylor. I don't know if you want to stop screen sharing, Anthony. That'd be good.
No, I'd like to play the video, to be honest with you. It's all 6 minutes.
Yeah, Riley, why do you lie so much? What do you get out of lying so much? Apart from not paying £1,000, forget about the £1,000.
Because you're wrong, Mark, and you won't admit it.
Forget about the £1,000.
You have to discredit me by calling me a liar.
I've got the clip here from Jamie's Hangout. It's not been edited.
Argument.
It's not been edited.
Not the whole argument.
So you're just going to talk over me then, Anthony?
You're cherry picking. You're cherry picking to claim a victory that you don't deserve.
How is it cherry picking, Anthony? It's the whole
because
bet.
It's not the whole argument, is it, Mark?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Argument revolves
that was
around
the
that
bet,
one
Anthony.
thing.
I'm going to play it again
Mark,
so everyone can hear.
There were many things said in that conversation, Mark.
From Jamie Hangout. From Jamie's Hangout.
We've heard it once.
Picking one segment from the whole argument and nothing more. You did not win the bet. You don't win the bet.
No, the bet I'm playing, Anthony. Listen to the bet. Let's listen to it again.
I'd love to have a wee debate with Mark. I've put out about a few things.
Jamie, just present me to everyone.
Oh, God.
What are you doing the magic trick?
There's £1,000, Mark Taylor. Solar eclipses happen every single month, and it's caused by the orbit of the moon going around the Earth.
Yeah.
I bet you £1,000 solar eclipses happen every single month. The issue is we never see them because they're normally over the Earth. Normally over the water. There's the £1,000, Mark Taylor. Put your money where your mouth is, or shut up, because you don't know what you're talking about. Okay?
Now let's play the other parts of the clip that were said in that argument.
That's kind of the end of the challenge, though, wasn't it?
That's the bet. That's the bet, Riley.
Hold on. Mark, he's been gracious enough to let you play your clip out. Come on, let's just hear the rest of it. Let him play his clip.
That was the bet,
That was it. He finished.
But it wasn't, though, was it? Though
someone else started speaking.
Let's just hear him out. Let's hear his excuses.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, sorry. Go, Riley. Excuse.
Oh, hang on. I'm on too fast. Oh no.
Can we do a vote in the chat afterwards?
I don't know how this. Does this go through my microphone or does it go through the desk? Hang on, let me get this set up. Right, here we go. You'll have to listen to it carefully because it does go fast because there was a lot to the conversation that wasn't down to one clip. But let's play it.
solar eclipses when the moon passes in front of the sun from our position. That's all.
Yeah, now play it at normal speed, guy.
I can't.
Shadow casting. It's either cast on the
Why
earth,
not?
it passes in front of the sun.
Because there was more than one piece of clip, and it was. I've had to do it that, otherwise the video would have been huge. I wanted it to be as short as possible, and it comes down.
You can hear
All
it.
right, I can't understand a
actually-
single word you're saying in this video.
Actually, if we can do it at half, that might work.
Yeah.
Maybe not take the risk.
Right, here we go. Let's try that.
Solar eclipses when the moon passes in
Can you turn it way up?
That's all. And it happens every single month. The only difference is the eclipse part of the actual shadow casting is either cast on the Earth or it's cast in space, but it still passes in front of the sun from our perspective. But maybe not take the risk. Let's just agree that it's because of the 5% tilt of the ecliptic plane. Do we agree?
Yes, that's the reason you don't get one every month, actually.
No, that's the reason why we don't get the shadow on Earth.
No,
Then it's not an eclipse if it's not falling on the Earth, Anthony.
You don't get a solar eclipse every month. I can't be more plain
or not.
I can't be more plainer than that, Anthony. I cannot be more plainer. We do not get an eclipse. The moon does not go in front of the sun every month. For the simple fact that the moon is not on the same plane as the sun all the time. It goes above it and below it.
Once every month, the moon will pass between us and the sun.
No, it will not, Anthony. How many more times? I cannot be plainer. That is not right.
On your model, once every month, the moon will pass in front of the sun and us.
Once again, Anthony, no, that is not right. Why do you keep repeating things?
So at this point, Mark's position is that he doesn't think that the moon passes between the Earth and the sun every month.
Well, that's changing the terms of the bet. You've
Yeah,
moved
exactly.
the goalpost.
No, it's not. It's
That
Mark.
wasn't a bet.
That
No,
an
you
eclipse.
heard the bet. You
That an
heard the bet,
eclipse.
Riley.
But the
You
thing
heard
is,
the bet.
this is what we
You're
were
just
arguing
dishonest, Riley.
No,
You're
it's
dishonest.
not.
You can't help being
Anthony-
dishonest.
You're cherry picking a little segment out of the whole
No,
argument.
that was the bet, Riley.
You moved the goalposts of the bet.
I haven't moved. He's cherry picked.
Yes, you have. You
No,
said an
no, I haven't.
eclipse
No.
occurs every month, and then you said the moon passes between the Earth and the sun every month, which is a different statement. That's
It's-
not an eclipse.
But that
That's
was
the
the
Earth
argument.
naturally
That's what
moving
we were
around.
arguing.
No.
And from the perspective of the Earth, yeah, the moon is closer to the sun than it was when it's on the other side of the Earth. That's not an eclipse, though. And that wasn't the bet that Mark took.
We were arguing over what causes it, and it is the rotation.
No,
of-
we had a bet, Riley. That was the whole thing of this. It was a bet. You
Yeah.
heard the bet. You didn't say anything about a shadow going into space. You said the
Yes, I did.
reason we don't see him every month is because it hits the oceans. I bet
Listen.
you £1,000 on that bet. I didn't bet you £1,000 on this other bet that you're making after the fact. I bet you on the fact we don't get one every month because that's not how it happens. And you said we don't see it because it hits the oceans. That was the bet. Plain and simple, Riley.
That
You
isn't
keep
all I said
changing the
there, was it?
goalposts. Just shows how
No,
dishonest
cherry
you
picking,
are.
Mark. You're simply cherry picking for one sentence in the
How
whole.
can I
I don't
cherry
think
pick?
that
That's
term
a
means
bet,
what you think
Riley.
it means.
Yes, it does, Lewis. I know what cherry picking means. You pick one sentence of the whole debate that suits your premise.
No,
yeah,
the
because it was
bets,
part of the
Riley.
bet.
The bets, Riley, we're talking about, not the debate. We're talking about the bet.
Yeah,
Not
the
what
bit
happened
was-
after the bet. Not
No,
what
no,
happened
no,
when
that
I
wasn't-
came in a hangout
no,
after
no.
the bet. I'm talking about the hangout where you said to me, I bet you £1,000. You just heard the bet. I wasn't even in the hangout, Riley. You
Yeah, you
bet
were.
me that when I was in text chat. I came into the hangout after, then you changed the goalposts.
No, I
That's
didn't,
what I
Mark.
kept saying to you. I
I've
cannot
quoted
make it any
everything.
clearer.
Everything
Yeah.
that I said was quoted in the video. Everything I
No,
said
in the bet,
context.
Riley. No, in
Yes.
the bet, Riley.
No,
Yes,
you
Anthony.
took one
Everything that
section-
you did say everything that's in this video, but in this video you have changed the context of the bet, and you're trying to renege
have I-
on the entire thing. All right. Mark accepted the bet of does an eclipse occur every month? It's just some of them occur over water, so we don't see all of them. That is the bet he took, and then later you changed it after recognizing the error in your speech.
No.
Changed it.
This was all
It
before,
would be
dude.
much better if you would acknowledge that, change what you
No,
meant the bet to be, so that Mark could then say, okay,
no.
well, I don't
No,
want to take
no,
that
no,
bet
that's
because
not
it's
correct.
not obviously as wrong.
That's not correct. What is being presented
that
on
is-
the screen
Dude,
is what we were arguing about at the time. This was not done afterwards. This was done before. This is what we were arguing about. You're mixing up the chronology to try and make it look like
this
I lost.
happened before the bet, did it?
Yeah, this is what we were arguing
Then
about.
that makes it
No,
even
it
worse.
wasn't.
That may
No,
if that's true,
Riley.
Anthony. If that's true, it makes it even worse.
No, it doesn't, because what it means is that Mark
does, and here's why. It means that you understand that eclipses don't occur every month, and then you made a bet saying they do.
All right, whatever.
Riley, you're lying, right? You made that bet to me when I was in text chat. I was not even in the hangout. As you can see that, because Ali B was there, and he was talking about me as in not me being in the third person, not me being in the hangout. You made the bet, and I said, and Jamie said, shall I give him the link? And you said yes. So I came in the hangout, then you changed the bet.
No, I didn't change the
bet. The bet I played is the bet that we had when I was in text chat. You bet me £1,000, and now because you're a liar and because you're dishonest and because you haven't got the spine in the back to admit that you was wrong, you changed the bet, Riley. You're dishonest.
No, I didn't change the bet, Mark. You've changed one sentence out of the lot, which is fine. But when you play the whole lot in context, I win.
No, I placed the bet, Riley. We bet on that bet. That's the bet, Riley. You can't change a bet. If I bet horse wins and then it loses, I can't go to the bookie and say, well, I didn't really bet that. This is what I bet. That's not how bets work, Riley. The bet is what you say when the bet's challenged, when the bet's set out. You set out the bet of the solar eclipses don't happen every month because the shadow hits the water. I said, that's not right. You bet me £1,000. I come in the hangout and you changed the bet, Riley.
No.
It's as simple as that.
What actually happened. You started texting in the side chat. You were invited on. We had it out there and then, and all of the clips that I've played in the video were from the debate that we fell out with over on the chat.
Oh, so where was that bet?
Not when you were in chat. Then? When you came into the hangout.
So where was that bet then I just played then, Riley? Where was that from then?
That was to get you in. That was right at the very beginning.
Right, so that was the bet then.
Yeah, but we've had the hangout in the middle.
So that was the bet then, yeah? So you just admitted that was the bet.
And I stand by
it. That was the bet you had then, right? So everyone can see now that was the bet we've had. He's just admitted that was the bet we had, and he wanted to change that after I went in the hangout. So I ain't bothered about the £1,000, Riley. I don't need the £1,000. I've done all right in my life. That ain't the point. The point is that you are dishonest, Riley.
No, Mark.
You are dishonest down to a T. You lie, you connive, you do anything you can just so you don't have to admit that you're wrong. Now, if you want to carry on with like that, you could do that, but don't make out I don't pay my debts. If I owed you £1,000,
I just said
I
you're
would
wrong.
have transferred that money to you that day, Riley. But
I haven't made out that
you're the one that owes the money, Riley. You are a dishonest person, Riley. Simple as.
Okay, let's address the bet. Let's address the bet. Do eclipses occur every month? No.
Right, no, I'm not going to address the bet because
you're not
I've
going to
already
address
been
I'm not Lewis, hold on. We'll do it another way, right? No, hold on. We'll do it another way, Riley. All right. Forget about that bet then, right? So your assertion is that it happens every month, but the shadow goes out into space, yeah?
Yeah, every month the lunar eclipse.
So the moon always casts a shadow then, doesn't it?
Yeah. Exactly the way they show.
So it doesn't happen every month then, does it? Because if the moon's always casting a shadow, what's the difference between the moon casting a shadow one part of the month and the moon casting a shadow on the new moon? What's the difference, Riley?
Because it's the point when the moon passes in front of the sun from our perspective.
Well, the moon's always in front. The moon's always, for 14 days in a month, the moon is in front of the sun, isn't it?
Well, if you won't accept that it's on the 27.3 days,
well, no,
then how can you argue it from the rest of the month?
It's 14 days, so it
you're trying to have it both ways.
It happens,
your position
is 14 days of the month, Roddy. So that means you lost the bet again.
Your position is that the moon does not pass in front of the sun on the 27th day, but it does every single month. But now you're trying to say, now you're trying to wait. Now you're trying to argue that for 14 days of the year, it's in front of the sun.
Never said that. Yes, you're already shoveling words in his mouth that he didn't say.
That's exactly what he said. That was
it's not. If he had, that's what we would have heard.
The eclipse completely in the video.
Of course you have, Riley. You're just dishonest, Riley.
Mark.
Whatever way you look at it, if I'm telling the truth, then you've lost the bet. If you're telling the truth, you still lost the bet because it's no different from the moon casting a shadow all the time of the month than just one day of the month. There's no difference, Riley. The reason it's called an eclipse, Riley, is because people on Earth can see the moon occulting the sun and a shadow hits the earth. That is the whole reason it's called an eclipse. If you're saying that it's an eclipse when the shadow just goes out into space, that means eclipses happen all the time, Riley. Which means you lose again.
No.
So
Mark,
whatever way you look at it, you lost, Riley.
No,
That's
Mark.
all I've got to say on the matter. That's all I've got to say on the matter. It's quite obvious you're dishonest, Riley. You're so dishonest.
Riley, what do you think an eclipse is?
Let me speak back.
Oh, come on. That was good. That was funny.
That was good.
If your position is that for 14 days of the lunar cycle, the moon's in front of the sun, you can't then argue on the 27th day when it eclipses the sun or passes the sun that it doesn't pass in front of the sun. He
didn't do that
both ways. Yes, he did.
No, he didn't.
His words. For 14 days, it passes in front of the sun. His words were 1 minute ago. That was his words. So you can either...
And then what didn't he say? Oh, that other thing about how it doesn't magically be in front of the sun on the one day when it is. Okay, he never said that. You're shoveling those words into his mouth.
No, I'm not. He said them.
Yes,
words.
you are.
Do you know what? It's like arguing with fucking retards.
Yes, it is. That is what it's like arguing with you.
No swearing.
All right.
Come on.
Now, what
You've been on before. You don't need to swear.
What do you think an eclipse is?
Sorry.
I would have got kicked for that, Riley. You're lucky.
Yeah. What do you think an eclipse is?
I know what the eclipse is.
No, just explain it.
I don't need to explain it. That's not the point. The point.
Yeah, you do. You kind of do. If you think an eclipse is just the shadow existing, then there's an eclipse constantly, and there's nothing special about it when the shadow happens to fall on the earth.
Okay, fine. I'm not even going to debate it because it was comprehensively not cherry picked in the video. That's all.
No, you're doing the opposite of cherry picking.
What do you mean by that?
You're picking up ground that's rotten. You're picking up fruit off of the ground that's rotten.
All I need to do there is just show this little tiny piece there because that puts it all into context. That's me putting the money back in my pocket because I did win the bet. Mark won't accept.
No, you didn't. You were wrong from the get-go and then reneged on the entire bet. Right. So what is an eclipse, Riley?
Is Mark still in or is he gone?
He's gone. What is an eclipse?
There's no point talking about it. Watch the video.
Yeah, there is, because you're wrong.
No,
dude. If you want to save face, you need to demonstrate that you're not wrong, or admit that you were and apologize.
No, I don't. I don't need to do anything to you, Lewis, because you're not even privy to the bet.
Not to me, to everyone else in the public eye.
I've addressed it comprehensively in context.
I'm just the one confronting you.
Well, you confront me all you want. I don't have to have the fight with you, do I? I only need to.
Well, it's not a fight. It's not a fight. Like, you're just wrong, and I'm here telling you you're wrong, and you can either admit it or not.
What, you mean like you were wrong to defend Brenda for deleting stuff in the chat last night?
I didn't defend her. I said I wouldn't have deleted it.
No, you did defend it. You said, so Brenda's allowed to delete stuff, and I was like, no.
Well, it's a shared drive. Anybody's allowed to delete it. Yeah, you guys are acting like she went into somebody's private computer and removed it. Now, let's get back to what an eclipse is, because I don't think you understand that.
I'm not addressing the eclipse with you, Lewis.
Why not?
Because it's addressed.
You're a coward? Is that why?
No, not. Do you think a coward? We study trying to.
I don't think Riley's a coward.
No, I'll stand up for myself all the time.
Yeah, he definitely stands.
So explain what an eclipse is.
What Mark said originally was wrong. Every 27.3 days, the moon does pass in front of the sun from our perspective.
He never said that it didn't.
Yes, he did. That's the whole point.
Go get the clip and play it back.
I have done it. It's in the video I've already played.
I didn't see
it. You haven't seen. No, because you haven't watched it.
Go get it.
In any event. Well, I can play it now. Hang on.
Yeah, do it. Yeah, show the part where he says that it doesn't happen that way. Ridiculous. You're ridiculous.
No, that's what the fight was all about.
No, it wasn't. The fight was about you saying an eclipse occurs every month, and it doesn't.
No, Mark's position, right? The shadow is cast either in space or on Earth.
Even now, you're changing the goalposts. Even now, stop. Just accept what was the bet that you made.
You don't even have to pay it anymore. He's let you off that.
Yeah, you don't have to pay it.
It's about the semantics of what's right and what's not right.
But don't you think
yes, exactly.
you have to dig
right? Let's start with the common ground we can agree on.
Yeah, let's start with the common ground. What's an eclipse?
No, that's not the common ground. That's the contentious.
Yes, it is. What was the bet?
No, you don't even know.
Eclipses occur every month. Was it or was it not the bet that eclipses occur every month?
No, that wasn't what it started off at.
So what was the bet?
Right. Originally, it started off with the moon passing in front of the sun every month, and Mark took issue with it, and I said that's the lunar cycle.
That is an eclipse,
right? But this is where it all started from. So originally, it started off with that assertion: the moon doesn't pass in front of the sun every month, and it does on the model, on the heliocentric model.
It does not. The moon does not pass between the Earth and the sun.
Yes, it does every month.
No.
Yes, Lewis,
it becomes closer relative to the sun than the Earth, but in order for if it comes between them, then all three items line up, and there is an eclipse. But eclipses do not occur every month, demonstrating that the moon does not pass between the sun and the moon, creating a line of three objects. That does not occur.
Right.
That does not
We're trying to start with common ground.
That occurs twice a year.
Right. We need to start with a common ground. Do we agree the lunar cycle is 27.3 days? Yes or no?
We've been joined by Curved Water. If we can just say a quick hello to Curved. How you doing, Curved? You've still got roboting problems. Clearly, he has. I think that's a yes.
Anyway, back to the £1,000 bet Riley lost.
Has he dropped? Oh. Lewis, do we agree?
I think he's on the phone. Let's just see if we can get another hello from Curved. He's having terrible computer problems. Give him a second.
Kick him.
Kick him?
No, give him a sec. It's Curved. See, he's typing in the chat.
Oh, shit.
No, we didn't.
No, we can't hear you, man. But anyway, Anthony, see, what I wanted to ask you is, like, if you're always like boiling all your arguments down to semantics, don't you think that's maybe like a common issue of you being really stubborn and maybe not wanting to?
It's a common issue of the heliocentric argument because a lot of it does come down to semantics. Like Curve showed, he illustrated it perfectly with the angular size argument. But you know, to nearly everybody else who watched that, Anthony, I'm trying to say, I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just saying, like, it looked really silly that you were saying you can't measure angular size. No. I honestly don't think that you guys even understand it.
Let Alex justify that. Let him justify it. So go on, Alex. Let's hear it.
Oh, why Riley doesn't think that? Yeah.
No. How you can?
Oh, how you can measure it? Because that's what it is. It's a measurement taken from the observer's.
But no, it isn't. Though, is it? That isn't.
That is. It's the angle of the angular diameter is the amount of angle in your 360 degree vision of that object.
No, but that isn't the definition of angular size.
Yeah, it is. We looked through it all together, remember?
Right. Let's go through it again, just because. Oops.
Because I wasn't exactly sure.
There we go.
Exactly
we have got. Sorry, Alex. We have got finally got Curved. How are you doing, Curved?
Oh yeah, sorry.
Good.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Just really quiet.
I mean, I learned this with you, Riley. So I don't. That's what I mean. I find it hard. Well, maybe you thought you knew it before, but we were on a hangout for a while. We were,
Yeah, but the problem is it's being it's being oversimplified to make a point that's not correct.
Hey, Riley, a definition is not an oversimplification, sir.
No, it's how you interpret it and apply it.
There's no interpretation to the definition, really.
Well, let's just see if that's true. Let's just see.
Go ahead.
I'll lead, and Curve or Alex, you can interrupt at a relevant point. But I'm right in saying at this point that you guys assert that the angular, when you measure this angle down here, whatever figure you get there, and we'll call it, because in this illustration it says
angular size,
yeah. In this illustration it says 30, so we'll go with 30, right? When we measure this at 30, your position is the moon is 30 arc minutes. That's the size. But when you
you're not understanding that.
No, I understand, but you're only measuring this angle. You're not measuring.
Yeah, but the angle is at the observer, right? That's where you measure it.
That's the point. So look at what it says. The angular size of the moon is determined by its actual size, which you do not know, and its distance from the observer.
Yeah, that's how. But Riley, that's how it's determined. It doesn't mean you don't measure it at the observer. Like, so if you look at the definition of angular size, it says that. Remember?
So we've done this. So a second explanation for it says. An angle is where is it?
But you do understand that that's being determined by that doesn't mean you can't measure it at the observer.
Right.
Without knowing those other factors as well.
If you simply measure that angle there, all you've measured is that angle.
Yeah, that's it.
You
That's
haven't
all
got
you've
the
measured.
size because you don't know the size.
Exactly. Yeah, you don't have the size. Yeah, that's what we're saying.
And the
You
only
don't
way
have
to get the size
Hold on,
is to know.
that's Alex has just conceded, has he not? Have you just conceded? So that does not give us the size.
No. That's all we've all been saying.
Yeah,
what we're saying with Riley is that he's saying we can't measure the angular size. We're saying that's silly. You do measure that at the observer's point.
No, but you're misapplying the rule. It says.
No, we're not.
Yeah, you are.
You are.
So Riley's saying
making up rules.
let me fill Nathan in. Let me fill Nathan in quickly. So Riley is saying that because we don't know the distance and the size to the moon and the size of the moon, that it's not possible for us to measure the angular size. But it is. You know, all these three independent variables could be measured independently, but we can't obviously measure the size, but we can still measure the angular size. And that's the point we're making. Riley's saying if we don't know the distance, then we can't measure the angular size.
Do you agree?
That's not what I understood from what he was saying. I thought he was saying we couldn't get the size from the angular size.
No. Yeah, we're not saying that. He's saying that we can't measure the angular size, which is, you know, how we perceive it in our vision. We can't measure that. For some reason, that's what he's saying, unless we know the distance and the actual size of the moon.
Correct. That is the.
Yeah, but that's not true.
Well, but it is true because look, if you measure the angle, all you've done is measured the angle.
You're saying we can't measure things in our vision.
That is the angular size. The angle is the angular size. Angle is angular size. Done.
No, angle. That when you measure the angle, you just measured the angle, right? But
the angle shape remains the same
about.
all the way along.
Yeah, it's always the same angle, right?
This is retarded. This is absolutely retarded.
So if the moon was further away, Riley, it would be bigger as well, right? With that angular size, that's
correct.
It would always be the same angular size.
No, the angular size is the size of the angle, knowing the distance. You have to do that.
No. You keep interjecting that. No, that's not true.
Right.
You made that up.
The linear size of the object equals the angular size of the object in arc seconds divided by the distance to the object. That gives you the size. And what the point was, unless you know the distance, you can't work out the size. Unless you know the size, you can't work out the distance. So it's cyclical.
It doesn't say that. That's your impotent interpretation due to your own personal stupidity.
All three of these can be measured independently, Riley. If they couldn't, how could you verify the equation?
Riley, what is the angular size of today's eclipse?
Let's go back to the original point coming from Hank. It was, why can you see the light from the stars? If it's so
the original point is not the question in issue.
It is, because what you're trying to do is move the goalpost.
You're dodging.
Somewhere else. No, I'm not dodging. Listen. Hank,
Riley, this is why everybody hates you.
Hold on, Curved. Hold on. If he's dodging, let him dodge. Let's see him dodge. But you've got to actually you've got to let people see him do it if he's doing it.
Enjoy the show.
Don't leave me behind, Curved.
Let's go back to the. Let's go back.
Kev's my bodyguard. He's the one with the science and stuff.
Let's go back to the assertion by Hank. Hank said, Hank asked, why is it we can see the light from the stars when the starlight is subject to the inverse square law, but they're supposed to be millions of miles away? Paper Explanator came on and said that blah, 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 blah. But
is that what he said? He told you the same thing we're telling you.
His point was right. They are subject to the inverse square law. But Paper Explanator said that they were so big. And then I said, well, how do you know how big they are? And then he talks about knowing all the distances to the sun. He based it on knowing the distance to the sun. Because he actually said, if you assume the distance to the sun to be 93 million miles away, we can then calculate different things. But it's based on an assumption. It's not based on a fact.
No, yeah, but that's irrelevant to the point we're talking about, Riley. Because we're not claiming any distance. We're just claiming that, Riley, if you look at your front door from wherever you're standing, or the door in your room, right, you can measure its angular size without knowing the distance to the door. Just in your eyesight, you could measure that.
You can only.
Yes, you can. It's just a measure of what you're seeing in your eyesight.
But when you measure
360-degree vision.
When you measure the door at whatever angle,
obviously, you know what I mean?
Whatever distance you're at, you're going to get the door repeating at infinite variables along the line.
Yes, but it's the same angle.
Oh, no. If the door, it grows in size as you move away from it. You don't understand the proportionality of this, Anthony. This is ridiculous.
No, this was all based on knowing the distances to the stars.
No, it's not.
That was the context.
No.
It was.
The angular size is based on knowing the angle. You can calculate the angle, you can measure the angle. If you know distance and the diameter or size width of the object in your field of view, you can calculate it. You can calculate it, yes. Or you can measure it having no clue how far away it is. This is over. You are done.
Measuring the angle is a measurement. Measuring the angular size is a sum.
The angle is the same at any distance.
Yeah, but it's not that. That's not
You're
the angular
pumped.
size, is it?
You're
That's the
pumped,
size of the
Riley.
angle.
You're done. The
No.
angle is the
Well,
same
tell you
at
what,
any distance.
If you want to
The
believe
angle
that,
does not
and
change,
everybody else in
Riley.
chat wants to believe it. They can believe it. That's called
Riley.
the bandwagon fallacy.
Riley. Riley.
Go with the interpretation of the map.
Riley. Why is the angle different at any point along the field of view there that's represented?
The angle will be the same.
The angle will be the same. The angle is the angular size. You
No,
keep
it
how many
isn't.
times did you
Angular
deny that?
size. The angular size is the taking into account the
Riley,
distance.
how many times did you post angular size is not the size of the angle? How many times did you post that? Everybody was quoting you and posting it. And
Even
you
on your
joined in.
diagrams, it has said
You
angular
joined in
size.
thinking that
Riley.
was fun.
The previous
Riley,
diagram
this
you
is a
had.
disgrace.
No, what is a disgrace is Brenda deleting things that she shouldn't be
Okay,
doing.
I agree with that.
You
but
are a
that's
disgrace.
This is being right or being wrong. There is a difference.
But the Brenda thing is irrelevant.
You're either
It's more-
stupid or
this is
outright
silly.
lying. This is pointless. Other than for everybody to see exactly what you are. You got this, you got the bet, and all the other dishonest crap you do.
Any other evidence that you want to throw my way?
It's all out there.
Yeah, of
This
course
is-
it's all out there.
This
Well,
is
the problem is-
disgraceful, Riley.
Well, no, what's
Why do you-
disgraceful is deleting videos.
Why do you want that? Why do you want that award so badly, Riley? Why are you campaigning so hard to win Red's Red?
I think he might be. That's not Riley.
No, he is.
No, I'm not
It
really.
appears to be. You're making a strong push here at the end of the year.
Do you know the guy who's in front of you says that cancer is good for you, and you're like tying with this guy? I'm sorry.
I mean, I don't
Put that in context.
Yeah, there you go. That just puts it in context, doesn't it?
But it's just, yeah, but why are you doing this? It's just say, okay, we got it wrong. You can measure this angle. Okay, I get what
Just
you're
admit
saying.
you're wrong, Riley.
Just
and
say, I
it's
get what
over.
you're saying. Yeah, that's it. We could just move on. Like, that's what I. Oh.
If distance was irrelevant to it, dude, it wouldn't even be addressed, would it?
Hold on.
It is.
Distance is not irrelevant. Distance is not needed to be known to measure the angle. You can do it with a
I
compass.
I agree.
You
Distance
don't need
is
it.
not
Okay,
required.
then it's done. You conceded. Great. It's over.
No.
You conceded.
I agree with the point you just said. Distance is not required to measure the angle. I agree. But
The
measuring
angle
the
is
angle
the
does
angular
not...
size, Riley.
No,
How
because
many definitions do you need to reject?
Hold on, Curve.
Right.
Just let him get it out.
measuring the angle just gives you the measured angle. It's a measurement, but to get the angular size, it's a sum. You need to counter in the distance. Otherwise, you've just got a measurement. You've just got a number.
Okay, citation for that, please.
You're looking at it on the screen.
Citation for that, please. Where does it say it is a sum and this is complete? This I want in a definition, a complete definition.
The angular size of an object is determined that by the other word for determined by is calculated by. It just
No,
uses-
calculated is not determined.
Okay, so it's a determination then. I'll accept determination. It's a the angular size is a determination by its actual size, which you do not know, and its distance, which you do not know. So you can't calculate the angular size.
No. You're wrong.
Yes.
No,
That is
you're
what
wrong.
it says.
No, Riley, what that is
Right.
telling you is that any object you move back and forth along that diagram there, closer to the point of the triangle or farther away, if it matches the angle there, that determines the angular
Actual
size.
size.
If it gets smaller and closer, in
Determines the
accordance with
actual
the
size.
angle, yes, those things will determine the angular size. You need to understand what that means.
No, those things will determine the actual size. If you know,
Lewis,
listen, if you know the measured angle and you know the distance, you can calculate the size. the actual size. If you don't know the distance, you can't get the actual size.
You can't calculate it. If you don't know the
Which is why
distance,
we
you can't
don't know-
calculate it. You can
Which is
measure
why-
the angle, and it's done.
Which is why we don't know the distance to the sun, because we do not know how big it is.
But you can take two measurements from different points on Earth, and you can use those two separate calculations in
Right,
trigonometry
off.
to figure out what the distance is.
Can we limit this to the argument at hand? Is that possible? You want to repeat what the question is here, Riley? What is it that you're arguing about here?
The question originally, in context, was Hank asked, "How is it possible that the light?"
No, the argument between you and I. The argument between you and I.
Keep
To know the
talking
distance
over
to the
him.
moon in this example, you need to know the actual size of the moon and the angle that you measure here. Right? You need to know that. We don't know the actual size. So
What
the
did
other
I
thing
tell
to
you?
know- The other thing to know is
And what did I plan?
and the angular size. We don't know the distance. So the angular size in itself isn't going to give you the two parameters that I was asking about, or that was being asked about. How do you know the?
And what did I say? What did I tell you?
You say
You don't.
by measuring that, you get anything that you want in the middle, and that's considered the angular size, but it isn't.
Correct,
That's just
correct.
the size of
Okay,
the angle.
everybody, very good, very good. That's good enough.
Yeah.
Everybody
So you
can see how wrong you are.
You have to determine, the angular size of the object is determined by its actual size, which you do not know, and its
Okay.
distance, which you
All
do
right,
not know.
All right, one more
So you
thing.
can't get the angular size. It's black and white.
One
simple.
more thing, Riley. Can you show
Yes,
me
sir.
anywhere along that diagram where the angular size differs from the angle?
It's subject to the distance, isn't it?
Riley, where does the angular size deviate from the angle? Where are they different?
It depends on the distance, like it says in the description.
Riley.
Right, yeah, that's true. But does it change?
Does the angle change?
No, the
Right, because
angle-
you just acknowledged that the distance would result in a difference in angular size, right?
That's right.
Yes. Okay. So that demonstrates because the moon isn't changing in angular size, that means the distance is not changing.
Well, we don't know that, do we? Because we don't know its actual size.
Yes, we do, because the angular size isn't changing.
But we don't know its actual size.
That's circular reasoning, is it not?
It is
No, it's not. It's not. It doesn't tell us. This doesn't tell us how far away it is, but it does tell us that it's not changing that distance. There is another way to figure out that distance, but this example here demonstrates that the distance does not change.
Right, but you don't know the distance or the actual size. So to get the angular size, you need to know at least one of them.
Yeah, it's fine.
Riley?
That's fine. This
Right.
this debunks this example right
Hold
here
on.
debunks that the moon at any point changes its distance from
You're
an
now
observer,
introducing-
no
you're
matter
now-
what
hold on,
it's
hold
doing.
on. I've got
It
to
can
put a
debunk
stop to
that.
you there,
That
Lewis.
wasn't the
Sorry,
point.
Anthony. Hold on. You're just hijacking
That
his
is a-
point and making it a
that is a
debunking
point
for
I would
something
make, though.
random. You're just hijacking his point. He's finally got you to concede. He hasn't got Curve to concede, and you've hijacked his point. So you've conceded
well,
it.
it's
Are you
not-
siding with Riley,
it's
Nathan?
irrelevant.
Let's just see if
Are
we
you
can get
siding
Curve
with
to concede
Riley?
as well.
Nathan, are you serious?
Of course.
No, what he's saying is he's pointing
I
out.
can
that
read.
Lewis is-
It's on screen. Read those words. Any of you who are
Yep.
disagreeing with
Okay,
me or Anthony, read
bring
them.
it up, and bring it up, and tell me that has anything to do with measuring the angular size.
Right, read it
That is
yourself.
a-
The
angular
Are,
size.
are you having me on? The first two words.
Let me read it.
Yeah.
No, let me read it. Oh, okay, it's not.
Are we really having this conversation? Have you not read
Just
it already?
No, I have to read it because it was off. The angular size of an
This is a
object
joke.
is
You
determined
guys
by its
are a
actual
joke.
size and its distance from the observer.
You don't need to read it out loud. It's been on screen. We've had.
Yeah.
I'll just
told me to
establish
read it.
what's happened, right? Just so the audience know. What has happened is
I-
Lewis
I-
has
I'm
conceded the
amazed
point,
by
and then
your stupidity.
and now Alex is
I can't
talking
believe
over me while he tries to
All right.
read out loud
you
to
had
himself.
a good education.
No, what has happened is.
what? All right, we accept, and I mean we never disagree.
No, Lewis, let me. Can
It's
I
all right,
say
Lewis.
something?
You all want to get your words in, and it's okay. I'm going to get mine in. You have conceded the point, Lewis. Curved has not conceded.
What was his point?
Well, let's hear it again. Go ahead, Anthony.
Right. We do not know the distance nor the actual size of the moon. You need to know either the distance or the actual size to get the angular size, because it says the angular size is determined by its actual size and its distance. If you know
Right.
one, you can get
In this example, this does not tell you the distance.
Correct.
That's fine. So what? There are other ways to determine that.
Seriously, I'm just going to say, I think you're making this way more confusing than it is.
No, it's not.
Nice and clear. I think we've got it pegged. Nobody's confused here except you, Alex, who has to read out the actual definition 10 minutes after we've discussed it out loud.
That's not an excuse me, Nathan. I've been discussing this with him for two freaking days, man. Like, this is insane that I am actually so surprised, Nathan, that you do not understand the point we're making here.
I do understand. I can read. It's on screen. It's simple. It's simple English on screen.
And your it's simple English. It's simple English, Nathan. It says it's determined. It doesn't say you can't measure it. It is measured at the observer's point. That's where you can measure the angle.
But that's not the point it's making, though. A measured angle
because it's determined by the distance and the actual size. It doesn't mean you can't measure it at the observer's
great, Alex.
point.
Get really angry. Get really angry, Alex. Go on.
Yeah,
Start swearing, Alex. Go on.
I can't believe, Nathan, that you are that dumb. I actually can't believe it.
That's it. Go to ad hom, Alex. Go on. Get really angry. Start calling me an idiot. Go on.
Nathan, are you going to maintain an unbiased and objective position here, or are you going to continue?
It's not unbiased. It's simple English. It's written in front of you. I find this incredibly amusing.
Moderate, Nathan. Just moderate.
No, it's fine. I don't mind triggering Nathan because listen.
I'm not the one triggered here, Alex.
Well, you sound pretty triggered because you're supposed to be a moderator, Nathan. Listen,
because we're going around in circles.
Can't measure the distance
we've reached a point where all three of you have tried to change the definitions and the words that are literally on screen in front of me.
That's not what's happening, Nathan.
Okay, Nathan. Pull up the dictionary definition then. Pull up the dictionary definition of angular size.
Got it on screen.
No, that isn't the dictionary.
That's not a definition.
Nathan. Oh my God, it's not even a definition, Nathan.
We can go to the other one. We can go to that one and we can use this one. It says the same thing.
No, show me the dictionary definition. That's what I've just said.
Yeah.
Right, I don't think the angular size will appear.
Oh, he doesn't want to bring it up, Nathan, because it just says what we're talking about. I mean, you're mixing up a definition for something explaining how you do calculations. You're mixing them up. This is just saying, it could say that the distance is determined by the angular size and the actual size. That doesn't mean you can't measure the distance.
Yep.
I mean,
it doesn't mean you can't measure the angle.
And he's supposed to be the moderator as well. Unbelievable.
Hey, can I make this point very clear to Nathan? Anthony denies that the angle is the angular size. Do you get that, Nathan? Do you get that?
I want you to tell me, you telling me you can't measure the distance if you don't know the angular size and the actual size. Is that what you're telling me? You wouldn't be able to measure the distance. That's not possible.
Alex, can you read the thing that's on screen and can you tell me if you agree with it or not? The bit that's highlighted in blue.
How large an object appears depends on not only its size, but its distance.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
How can you know?
So why do you struggle with the other definition?
That's absolutely correct.
No, I'm just mixing the equation up. Why can't you figure out you can't measure the distance if you don't know the angular size and you don't know its actual size? Then you can't measure a distance between objects, right? That's ridiculous, isn't it? It's a ridiculous statement.
You can do this calculation twice from two different observers' points of view, and using the distance that the observers are apart, you can calculate the size of an object based on two different measurements of its angular size, knowing a given distance of the two observers. You can do that.
No, the given distance. That's the point.
Between two observers on the Earth, yes, you absolutely can.
No, you cannot.
Yes, you absolutely can.
All right, he's looking for another argument to divert this.
You're talking about a single observer making one single observation. I am talking about two observers making two separate observations and using the given known distance between the two observations to measure the size of the moon. That is absolutely possible.
Let's go back
to this argument.
Let's go back to the original point. The bit where
calculate angular diameter. Where's the definition?
Definition of what?
The definition of angular size.
Angular size, angular diameter, apparent size. Measured in degrees, in units of degrees.
The angular size is determined by its actual size.
No, that's not a definition, Riley.
My God.
Are you going to bring out a definition?
What do you want me to do? Do you want me to delete the word off so that you only have?
I want you to read a definition rather than dishonestly doing what you're doing.
you want me to delete this bit there so we just have the
No,
actual...
Just
I
read
want
out the
you to
dictionary
read a
definition.
Definition. Quit purporting this to be a definition.
Well, what is this then if it's not a definition?
That's a description of a formula. That's part of a description of a formula, and formulas can be written in all sorts of different ways. You just flip shit around. You just flip stuff around in the arrangement of the formula, depending on what side of the equal sign you want particular parts of the formula to be on.
So you won't bring it up, Riley, because you brought it up the other day, and we showed it to you clearly on Rick's Hangout.
I won't bring what?
This is like algebra 2.
I mean, you're basically saying we can't measure things from just standing places. We can't measure how big it is in our eyesight. It's ridiculous. Of course we can
measure it.
Well, that's all the angular size is.
No, it isn't though, because it says, doesn't it? It says the angular size is calculated or determined by its actual size.
It doesn't mean you can't measure it independently. The distance could also be determined by its angular size and its actual size. No, isn't this not equally true? The distance is determined by the angular size and its actual size. You could figure it out from there. Yeah. So does that mean you can't measure a distance between two objects then?
But if you don't know the distance, you can't. Right, we don't know the actual.
Figuring out one you don't know. If you know,
Anthony, that is why you have to take two different measurements with two different observers. You can get the same. You can figure out the distance. You can do that.
Yeah, I understand that the Pythagoras.
Oh, so there's no problem then.
Yeah, but the point we're talking
about.
There's
no problem. There is no problem
if
you
all talking over each other. I'll turn you down for a second just so I can introduce Tony. How you doing, Tony? Can you just give us a quick hello?
Doing good. Check 1 2. Check.
Good. Cool. Thanks for being here. Nice to see you.
Nathan, since I have brought up the a page of definitions of this from a website here on astronomy, would you mind presenting me, please?
Yeah, you are.
Okay, everybody click on my screen if you need to see what we've got here. Can you see it?
The angular size of an object is how big the object appears in the sky. The apparent magnitude.
The magnitude's not important. We're going for angular size.
The angular size of an object.
What's this one say?
The angular
size.
What's the source? Miami
HU
astronomy. This is a dictionary definition. Miami what? I can't read it with this distance. What's this source?
It says enmimi.hu.
What's that?
HU, astronomy. I don't know. It's some college website or something, probably. Who knows? I don't know what it is.
So, hang on. Is it now the case that you found a definition that suits your version better than mine? So we're now
Riley,
going to go...
I'm reading definition.
Hang on. Are we now going to go...
I'm reading multiple definitions here. And we can look at more.
Anthony, you don't even understand the one you brought up.
No, he doesn't understand the one he
brought up.
I was talking
when he attacked
me. You, Anthony, don't understand the one you brought up.
Talk over each other. You're all very angry. I can tell the Globers are very angry.
I was speaking when he accused me.
Well,
is it now the case?
I mean, Nathan, if you want to stick up for this guy, I mean, I suppose you've got...
Wait.
I'm just questioning the source. You guys did exactly the same thing. It's 3 against 1.
You're going to just look like an idiot just because of flat Earth.
Now 4 against 1, Alex. And you questioned the validity of his source. So immediately we've got what looks like a very hash-bash, rather amateurish looking site. And this is more credible than the one, Anthony. Where's the dictionary definition that you all asked for?
You
do not understand what was written there, then, Nathan.
Where's the dictionary definition? You were all moaning for the dictionary. I thought that's what we were going to get.
All right, we'll get the dictionary out.
Jolly
good.
I
don't think a definition is what we want. A definition, not something talking about
what we shall have. Hopefully, from one of you guys that are really angry about it.
Because like not a definition.
Nathan, we've been talking about this with him for 3 days, and you wonder why we're angry, and he's on it talking about it again. He still doesn't get a simple point. And now you're stepping in and seem to think he's got a point.
No, because it's 4 against 1, and you're all talking over him, all very angry. What can I say?
Yeah. Well, maybe Riley gets himself into these situations himself because he's.
Well, maybe Riley's right, and you guys won't.
Maybe the whole world's wrong, Riley, and you're right. You're right. No, that makes sense. Yeah.
Maybe you should read the definition and understand.
I have read it. Like I said to you, Riley.
Hold on. Can I just say hello to the new guest? Whoa, Alex. Can I just say hello to?
Nathan Oakley got them cum teeth.
Well, you didn't last long.
I should be up actually. But
sorry.
No, you'll be right. But like we said earlier, yeah. Sorry, Cove. Just 2 seconds, right? you can mix that equation around and you can see it doesn't make sense. It's like saying
no. You can mix that equation around and then realize the angular size.
No, because like we're saying, if you want to know the distance, you can have the angular size and the actual size, and you can figure out the distance, right? So that's like saying, well, then you can't measure the distance unless you know the angular size and the actual size. Where we know we can measure distances, it's just silly. It's just like that is literally what you're saying, that we can't measure distance because of your definition here. It's just it's not a definition. Anyway, whatever.
Riley has said that we're denying the definition, yet a definition has not been presented by Riley.
What are you talking about? Of course, there's one on screen right now, Curve.
That is not a definition.
What is it then?
Why are you afraid of a
Why is it not a definition? Because it poos all over yours.
Definition, Riley. Calling that is not a definition.
It seems like one to me. Why would it not be one, Curved?
Well, that's a problem now, isn't it?
Yes, because
that's a you problem.
It can't be any simpler. The angular size is calculated or determined by.
Okay, so again, if I say the distance is calculated by angular size.
Right, while these guys row it out, I'll keep an eye so that no trolls get in and do a quick link. So if you are new to this channel, or you are one of the 50% of the people watching this right now that are not subscribed, click the subscribe button and the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. If you would like to support this channel, there is a link to Super Chat that runs alongside the show while it is live. And if you would like to join the debate, most importantly, click on mute on the page that you are currently watching, then click on the link below the video to join the debate and express your views on the shape of the Earth. There are only a couple of rules in the Hangout. Number one, please do not swear. If you do, you will be ejected. If you are ejected, you will be warmly welcomed back on the next stream, so please don't try to rejoin the show using sock accounts. There is approximately 1 hour, maybe a little bit less, left on this live stream, so please share the show on Facebook, Skype and Twitter if you've not done so already. Once again, if you're new to this channel, or one of the 50% that are not subscribed, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate.
Pigeonhole.
No, it doesn't, because as you correctly pointed out, it could be down here somewhere, and then the distance varies. But you don't know its actual size.
Angular size does not. Why is that so difficult for you? The angular size does not change within that triangle.
Right. The measured angle size doesn't change, but as it clearly states down here, it's calculated by. That's why it's a sum.
There you go, done.
It's not measured.
It's not a sum.
Actual
Is that me again? Here you go.
Distance. Two things.
Now,
simple sum.
You know what this website is? I can
Anthony,
link it for
you
you.
need to take trigonometry.
No, you guys need to take
Just take trigonometry.
Oh, hold on,
Simple
Anthony and Lewis.
Word
Can you just let Curved speak, please? Sorry.
Definition. Here's a definition right here. Angular diameter, noun. Astronomy, the apparent diameter of a planet or other celestial object measured by the angle which it subtends at the point of observation.
Yeah, at the point, not anywhere.
Now that's it.
That's the point.
That's it.
At the point of observation.
It's the angle that it subtends.
Oh, hold on, you don't need to, can we just
observation.
Don't need all three of you to repeat it. Can you just let Anthony reply?
Put that back on. Can you put that back on, Curved? You've ignored the last three words.
At the point of observation.
That's the ones we want you to take note of the most.
At the point of observation.
The real line.
Yeah, but that's the point. Not
the
anywhere.
Triangle starts.
Listen.
Point of observation.
Yeah, at the point of not anywhere randomly along, arguing that it's somehow the same. It's at one.
It is. Oh my God, no.
The observer is the point.
Dude, it says at the point of observation. It doesn't say randomly anywhere along there at infinite variables.
No, the point of observation isn't the variable. Length and size are variables. They can be measured.
No.
It's done, Riley. This is done.
Could you please pull that back up? No. All right. Okay.
No.
It's done.
You look it up yourself if you want to see it again. You've been sitting here claiming you've been showing a definition this whole time.
We're done now. Fine.
And you haven't been.
Guys, this comes from an inability to do trigonometry and understand that you need two separate calculations.
Can I just say a quick hello to our new guest? Hello. Detritus. How you doing? Can you say hello? Hello, Detritus.
This is probably the part where I get booted.
No worries, he's gone now. Got to be quick. If you join, you need to say hello immediately. Otherwise, I will just boot you.
This actually comes from the inability to comprehend simple grammatic sentences. That's all.
No, it's trigonometry.
No, it's not trigonometry. It's grammar.
Yes, it is.
I think it's both.
Hey, Wiley, what did the definition say about needing to know the size, the actual size, or the actual distance?
I don't know. You won't pull it back up. Bring it back up.
You pull it up.
I didn't see it quick
I
enough.
had it up. We read it. We already addressed your contention. You pull it up. You've been reading from that thing, talking about it, claiming it's a definition this whole time, trying to act like it was, and it's not.
Are you referring to my definition or yours?
Destroys you. The definition destroys you. Any honest person that can read with comprehension knows you're full of it.
Are you citing my citation or your own?
Both.
That is not a definition.
Of course it is curved.
If you understood the definition, you'd probably understand your point more, your citation.
I think you ballers are struggling with the word. I think you ballers are struggling with the word determined by, because
we're not struggling with
No, that's what you're struggling with, man. Exactly what it is, man.
It requires two things: actual size and the distance. You need to know.
No, it does.
Just like I said, you can flip
It
that
requires
around.
it requires two separate observations and a known distance between the two observers making those
That's not what we're talking about,
That's not what we're
Lewis.
talking about. No.
This is not
Okay,
about
you
parallax.
guys
This is
are on
simply about
remarkably
measuring an
similar
angle.
pages.
It was
Guys,
what we were talking about,
you
because
guys
we
are
were
on
talking about
remarkably
stars.
similar pages. Anthony is complaining that you can't know the distance. That's what he's complaining about.
No, he's
not. He's
saying
he's
you
saying
need to know the distance and actual size in order to calculate the angle. And we're saying, no, you can measure the angle.
His
No,
misunderstanding.
we're not. We've been talking for 2 days, man, about this.
Yeah, we know what's up here, Lewis. We really do. We've been going through this forever.
Right, let's put this back into context. We were talking about the stars originally and why.
No, the context. Oh, God.
Let's move on. I honestly think we just move on. He said that, kind of said it.
Well, this all started from Paper Explanator's comment. This is where it all came from. It wasn't even my comment.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't.
But Riley, you've already agreed to what the contention was. You claim you need to know distance and actual size in order to get the angular size.
Correct.
I said, no, you don't need that. You can measure it. You disagreed with me.
Correct.
You're done. You're done.
No, I'm not done, dude. It's in black.
You
and white.
are done.
Yeah, done.
I can't.
You are
I
done.
can't. Listen,
You've been
Curve.
done.
Listen,
You've
Curve.
been done.
I can't dumb it.
You're ashes. You're ashes. You're burnt to a crisp. You're done.
I can't dumb it down any easier for you, unfortunately. It's as simple as it can be.
All right, let's see if
Yeah,
Al
we
can
gotta-
talk some sense to you.
Come on now.
Been joined by AIK. How you doing, AIK? Good to have you here.
Anything.
Oh, Al, I should say.
To snipe Al, yeah.
Go on, Al. Sort him out.
You still arguing about this? I can't believe you're arguing over something so simple.
I know. It's unbelievable.
The main point of contention is that Anthony thinks that you need to know the distance to something or the size of it to get the angular size. But the angular size is just a measurement of how something looks to you.
Yes.
If you have got two objects, Anthony, of two different sizes, and you place one further away than the other, you can get them to the point where they both look like the same size to you.
Yes.
Do you agree?
Yes.
Now, you can see that they both look the same size without knowing what the difference is and the distance between the two of them or what size they started off as. You can just see that they both look the same size.
Yes.
And that's something you can measure.
Yeah, that's right.
That's it. It's a single measurement. You don't know the distance to it. You don't know the size.
Well, that's the point. By measuring it, you don't get the angular size. You only get the angle.
No, I've just told you what that is. That is the angular size. It's the apparent size of something. Right?
Right. It's
No,
down
no,
to
no. You stop. Right? You've been talking for
Why
ages.
is it? Stop.
It's down to two letters, though.
Just say, for example, a basketball, right? You put it out in front of you to the point where you can put your thumb up and your thumb exactly covers that basketball. Okay? Do you know that that basketball is thumb size? You don't need to know the actual dimensions of the basketball. You don't need to know how many meters away the basketball is from you. You just know that the size of your thumb matches the size of the object in front of you.
But
The
when you're trying to,
the size of your thumb is the part where you're determining the apparent size, the way it looks. in your field of view.
But in
if
the
you
context of Hank's
something else, which is much bigger, and put it to the point where it also matches the size of your thumb, what's the measurement for both of those objects? Thumb size.
Right.
That's the part. That's the angular size.
That's the angle size, not the angular size, the angle size. The question that posed originally was, how do you know how far away the stars are? That was the question. And the answer is not the angular size.
It started off with Hank asking about how it is that we could see stars that were so far away. And then Paper Explanator tried to explain about the concentration, the energy being put out by suns and stars.
Yeah, and the key bit that you
an arbitrary size and distance to try and explain how you could calculate the intensity of the photons hitting your eye.
Can I just say hello to our new guests? They both turned their camera on and no truth. Sorry, I just got to make sure they're not going to snipe you all out. So can I just say a quick hello to Jamie first and foremost?
Hello.
Thank you.
Hello.
How you doing, Jamie?
Good, thank you. Good to be back. Enjoying this.
Excellent stuff. And
I'm coming over to. I'm coming over to the flat side, because there's not much evidence for anything really.
Good stuff. And if I can just say a quick hello to Truth
Especially when there's 4 people against you, mate, then you have no evidence, no matter whether you do or you don't. Because it's the bandwagon fallacy that wins on the heliocentric side.
Oh, don't talk shit.
Bear with me, guys. I just want to say hello to Truth Seeker as well, if I can. Hello, Truth Seeker. How you doing?
Great. How about you?
Not too bad. Not too bad. Thank you very much for being here.
Riley, you're not understanding this, and everybody else understands it apart from you, and that's just a fact. I'm sorry. And you're the only one struggling to get an explanation that makes sense. It's been explained to you 20 different ways and you're still not getting it. And this thing that you're saying now, angle size is not angular size, it doesn't even make sense. I would like you to do what Curve has been asking you and find a definition that says that, because that's something you've just made up.
I've done that, and Curve doesn't accept the definition.
Never. You don't have a definition that says what you're saying there.
I have. I've showed it many times.
You haven't. You haven't got something that says angle size is not angular size. That's a sentence you've just constructed. What do you think angular means? It means measuring an angle, doesn't it? I can't believe somebody can't get something this simple.
I know. Well, what can you say, eh? Flat Earth for you.
I lost the words.
I've been through
The
that.
thing
with
about it is
Never lets you down.
I'm Rick. I've done that with Anthony. I've talked to him about drawing an angle himself and measuring it with a compass. I've already been there with him.
Although it's obviously referring to looking at distant objects, it's the same basic principle can be applied to whenever he's doing. Everybody on here does these things where they take photographs or video and then they try and figure out the size of a building and the distance and stuff like that. You know what I mean? You know, you apply the same principle, you measure it, you know, whether it be however many pixels across it is or whatever on the screen, and then try and get an actual measurement from that you can use to determine the size of something and see whether it's obstructed and stuff like that. This is stuff that's been done for, you know, months or over a year or whatever. The same basic principles being applied, but for some reason it's not sinking in.
That's using too much knowledge fallacy. No. Good times.
You can measure an angle with a compass. I mean, yeah, and okay, protractor. I do get those terms mixed up sometimes, so go ahead. You can measure the angle with a protractor. No, a compass too. Compass, the half round, the half circle, the D-shaped thing, the angles on it, the degrees. You can measure an angle with a compass. You can measure it with a compass and a protractor. But the compass is the easiest way for somebody like Riley to do it.
But the tool involved is irrelevant. I mean, that was why I was using examples like holding your thumb up and all that. The tools know the point.
Well, I've told him,
measurement.
I've had Riley, I told him to draw an angle, like draw a V. And go ahead and take a a compass or protractor and measure that angle in between them. And the angle is the same regardless of the distance. You know, if you you can draw a series of lines across there. No matter how far away you draw them, you draw those lines, you know, across in between the bead, make the base of the triangle. No matter where you draw it, the angular size of that base is the same. And he knows that.
Yeah, that's why
he showed a picture. Yeah. He showed a picture of it, but then turns around and denies it and says, the size of the angle is not the angular size, he says. This is a pure loser. He's just a contrarian.
I know that's what.
Well, he's bringing in his viewers. 157 watching. Congratulations, Nathan.
And I'd like to hear from Nathan what he thinks about this so far now. If he's changed his mind, or if he's still going to ride with Riley.
Impossible. We've been joined by somebody who I don't know, who's probably going to get booted pretty quickly if he doesn't say hello. How you doing, new guest?
Hello.
How you doing, new guest? No.
Speak. Did he drop?
Boy, there's a lot of snipes coming through here. You're making your money today, Anthony. You're working hard for your money.
I know, I'm sweating. Sorry, I had to take a call. I couldn't respond then. I was trying to talk on a phone call whilst texting.
Hey, what's the snipes? What does that mean?
Do we really want to talk about that?
No, I just thought someone could sum it up in like a second, maybe.
Yeah, I'm trying to avoid telling anybody who doesn't know how to do it.
I'd rather we kept on topic. Sorry to interrupt you, Kev, but to answer your question, my understanding was incorrect about what you were debating. Now I understand what you're debating. I still don't fully understand Anthony's point, but from what I've got so far, I think Anthony's point is that we can't determine the size of the moon or sun.
Okay. Can I ask you a couple questions?
Stars.
We've also been joined.
Nathan,
yes.
Where
Thank
do you come down
Anthony.
on this?
Sorry, Curved. I will give you a chance to come back. Sorry, Curved. I just want to introduce Hank Hill as well. Sorry, Hank Hill. How you doing?
Hey, thanks for the invite or the link in the description. Appreciate having me on the channel. Good dinner.
Good to see you. Thanks for being here.
Okay. All right. So where are you on that one, Nathan? Is the angular size the size of the angle?
Well, I can only, boil that down to what it's useful for, and that's in this debate whether or not we know how big the sun is. Or the moon.
That's not what he's arguing.
It was to do with the size of the stars and therefore the distance.
This debate is about: do you need to know the distance and actual size in order to measure the angle?
In relation to
simple.
Hank's question, yes.
It's that simple. It's that simple. Now you're going to go and try to complicate it.
Now you're going to
change the goalpost, Riley.
The Hank's question.
Riley, how much do you get paid to be a professional goalpost mover?
Yes,
that's all you do.
Hank's in the chat now. Let's get Hank to explain his position from yesterday, because this is where it came from. It came from paper explanators. Hank, just tell us what the issue was yesterday that you asked.
Hank, take my burden, please.
If the inverse square law applies to all electromagnetic radiation, including light, then how is it that we can detect light from 13.8 billion light years away? If each light year is quintillion miles, quintillion times 13.8 billion miles away, it would seem that the light would kind of ricochet off of the hydrogen particles in space, because space is not a perfect vacuum, and how could it ever reach our instruments here on Earth? It's kind of like you shooting a 22 through a whole bunch of particles and expecting it not to ricochet.
Okay, so what's the link now between that and angular size?
It does, because paper came out.
No, we've already... Riley, you're not going to switch...
You're not listening.
You're not going to switch the argument, Riley. If you want to talk about something else, that's fine. But don't act like what you're about to say is what we disagreed about.
Curve, just give me a minute. Let me play. I've got it on thingy now.
Okay, but don't act like you're changing.
This is not what you've been arguing for 2 days with us.
You're not changing the argument. If this is something different, say so. Don't try to frame it as though this is what we're arguing about, Riley.
Just listen to me. For a minute, just shut your mouth and listen.
Don't lie and I'll shut my mouth.
So shut your mouth anyway then, because I don't lie. I might be wrong, but I'm not lying.
Riley, you're now trying to reframe the argument.
Curve, shut up a minute. Damn it!
I've already heard you. You already started it.
Just listen
let's
a
go,
minute.
let's go.
Paper came in, and these are Paper's words. Listen to what he says.
Yeah, we remember it. We remember it. It was awesome. This is actually awesome.
Right, so listen to what he says.
To assume that if you actually a mid-range star, if you actually do the calculations, I mean, yes, you've got to assume that the sun is 93 million miles away.
Oh, you just cherry picked what he was trying to explain to you. Well done.
No, listen. We'll talk about the cherry picking when he's watch it. It's terrible. Watch it.
Because he's talking about the assumed distance to the
He was
moon.
which is nothing.
An example.
Right, but the question's
In
about
order to make the example, he had to give you some kind of value to work with to do the calculations.
Anthony, the question was about why you can see
chosen to be the
stars.
sun, which we, as far as we know, is 93
Yes.
million miles away.
So
So that's what he was saying. You're
stay
taking
on
his
topic.
words out of context.
No, I'm not. They
Yes,
were
you are.
direct.
He
No,
was giving you an example, so he chose those figures to work with, so he could then explain to you how you calculate it.
Right, so let me illustrate.
You are trying to twist this to make
No,
it say,
I'm not.
he's saying, oh, we all assume that the sun is 93 million miles away. That is not the same thing.
To prove that I'm not twisting it, I now need to play the rest of the clip in context so that you can see that I'm not twisting it. This is Hank's question. This is his answer. So listen to what's said, then come back and say, I'm sorry, I was wrong. You were not twisting the context.
Yeah, listen to it all. Listen to it
Can
all.
you turn it up, please?
Of course, it transmits.
Signal. So basically, it works like this. In real life, as you drop further and further away from the city, the radio stations begin to fade because of the reverse square law. Nobody's going to argue that with you. Inverse. How do you see light from 13.8 light years away if there's the reverse square law?
Oh, okay.
Inverse.
You listen.
Yeah, loud and clear. Yeah, I'll go on mute.
Like I say, you've got to look at a radio station which has a transmitter, which is probably kicking out a couple of kilowatts, something like that. Of course, it transmits over a certain area. You're comparing that to a star. A star, I mean, I know the flat earthers are going to say, well, we don't know what the stars are. Well, a typical star, something like Tau Ceti.
Actually, I know exactly what you guys think the stars are. Can you please continue?
Okay, a typical star similar to the sun that we have is something like Tau Ceti, a mid-range star. If you actually do the calculations, I mean, yes, you've got to assume that the sun is 93 million miles away.
Right, so now do you retract your final statement that said that I was taken out of context, or do you maintain that I was taken?
Yeah, I maintain, Riley, this whole thing's out of context because we're talking about why you can see a star and why the photons hit your eye and how many photons hit your eye. That's what that discussion was about. Nothing to do with this.
Hey, don't you think it's rather odd
But
that
yeah,
all those
it's a good
in all those
discussion.
quintillions and quintillions of miles, there's no disruption of this light? It just
Yeah, that's
always,
a much more interesting discussion, to be honest, Trey.
Well, who says there's no disruption?
Because the
Oh, you're right. It disrupts once it hits my magical retina. It travels quintillions of miles until it
No,
stops.
no. Just because some light makes it through does not mean all light makes it through. That's an assumption on your part. And Hank Hill, can I ask you also very quickly, the 13.8 billion light years away stars, are they viewed from Earth or are they viewed from space telescope?
I'd imagine they're viewed from the space telescope because we can't see that far.
So we're going to get rid of the hydrogen interaction part of your argument there? If that's
Nope,
what you
because there's still quintillions of miles you still have to deal with.
No, not if the telescope is outside the atmosphere.
Well, the
Why do you
problem is
persist?
not the light can't travel through the atmosphere. The problem is electromagnetic radiation, due to the inverse square law, can't travel 13.8 billion light years.
But hey, did you mention interacting with the particles in the atmosphere once they got here? You did mention that, didn't you?
My contention was the particles in space, the hydrogen atoms.
Let's calculate. Let's calculate, since you guys love numbers so much, how many particles would be in between that distance. Let's do that.
That's up to the debunker.
How do you do that?
And then let's ask any rational, objective person if they think they'll be able to see through that many particles.
That's up to the debunker to calculate. This is a mathematical argument, but the person trying to use it as a
No,
claim
this is
debunk
an
is not
assumptive.
doing any math with it, other than
This is an
using a
assumptive
mathematical
argument.
based inverse square law.
This is an assumptive argument. You're assuming that these stars are billions and billions of miles
No,
away.
I'm not assuming anything. I'm not assuming anything.
So you
You
measured it.
sound like it. You sound like you're taking all the scientism textbooks as true.
I'm not even arguing that they are 13.8 billion miles away. I'm
What are you
contesting.
arguing?
I'm contesting your argument.
Daniel
So
Truman.
this is where
just
we're
there.
at. We're basically both going to professionally skeptic each other to the point where nobody makes
I'm
any ground.
contesting your argument.
So you guys,
I think it is flawed.
You guys basically saw how much I was destroying you.
And
last
it's not an
time.
argument. It's an argument
I think
from
your
no
missus did a better
disrespect,
job, to be
Hank.
honest.
This is the name of the fallacy.
Sorry, can I
argument
just
from
introduce
ignorance.
our new guest? Sorry to interrupt you all. Sorry. Can I just say a quick hello to Daniel? How you doing, Daniel?
Hello. Hey, imitation is the sincerest form,
Truth.
of
It's
flattery.
truth.
So I
Truth.
mean, I love it. You guys
Truth Seeker,
imitating us.
trying to say hello to our new guest. How you doing, Daniel? You've got about 5 seconds to say hello before I boot you.
Bye, Daniel.
Bye, Daniel.
Bye, Daniel.
I wanted to say that Einstein couldn't sign his own equations, and he actually brought it to the Prussians and asked if, hey, can you guys do this math for me? So, I'm not Einstein or anything. In fact, I'm much lower than Einstein the Great. So, could someone please do the math for me?
Hey, my point is,
Funny,
you're bringing
Einstein's
forth
shown to be a
something,
charlatan.
calling it an argument, calling it a debunking. It is a mathematically based argument. You're using the inverse square law. That is math. If you're going to call this a debunk, as you do, you need to do the debunking, Hank.
Listen, the inverse square law is not math. What a childish, idiotic statement. The inverse square law is a law. You can apply it mathematically, but it is not math.
Oh my God.
That's how
is
it's
not
explained
math.
mathematically. It is what?
No, it is. Yeah,
Is that a
it's
joke? Are
explained.
you joking? Is that a
Yeah,
joke?
this is the state.
Represented
You just
through a
triggered Nick, Drew.
mathematical equation.
This is the state of flat Earth today.
Everyone say hello to Nick. Come on.
Hello, everyone. Good evening.
Okay.
Hey, Nick.
Done.
Good to have you here, Nick. Thanks for being here.
So, Truth, do you think the inverse square
Here,
law is
is
not
this
math?
math? Is this math right now? And the farther it
Do you know what it
travels,
says? Do you know what it's represented by
Yes.
in like a mathematical expression?
The further distance it travels, it
But
exponentially loses.
But it's also
power.
given by a mathematical expression.
Yes, and it also can be expressed grammarly. So saying that it's purely math is a logical fallacy.
No one said it's purely math, but it is math. Like
Yes, he did. He said it's math. He
things
said
can be
it's
described
math.
by maths and words as well. But the inverse square law is definitely a part of maths. It just
My God,
distance
you can't
traveled.
use the inverse
It
square law
can
without
also
math,
be
you
used
moron.
logically and semantically in an argument.
What? I'm just trying to explain to you why it's maths. It's all it says.
I
is that
know
the
why
intensity-
it's math. I know why it's math. I'm just saying.
Well,
it's
you just
not
said it wasn't
entirely
math.
It's not entirely math. It can
No,
be
you
used
changed your
logically as a
position. You
basis.
said it wasn't
It
math.
can-
Now you're
it
saying
can
it's
be
not
used-
entirely math.
It can be used
Yes, it's
logically because we know as the distance increases, it exponentially loses power. That's not math.
If we don't know the power of the signal, then nobody can do the math on this. So unless you guys can go out there to the star 13.8 billion light years away and get the power source, and then
You can
write
measure
down-
it, by the way, from the apparent brightness. It's a function of the luminosity and the diameter of the star.
apparent. What does that mean?
The brightness at the Earth, basically.
So what are we using for the most accurate star distances? What is the most credible source of that information?
Well, you know,
You got me. I'm not into the stars and stuff.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't even argue this stuff typically. This is
Okay,
kind of off
So
topic.
exactly.
if
So
you ask me.
this is a major
You need, like,
contention.
paper. He's
What
good
is
at
the
that.
most credible way to measure the distance of starlight?
Real fast. The definition of apparent, clearly visible or understood, obvious. The second definition, seeming real or true, but not necessary.
No. It's got a different definition. The word apparent on its own is a different meaning if you actually add it to apparent brightness. Apparent brightness is specifically an astronomical term.
Okay, let's look that up.
Okay, so how are we? What's the most trustworthy way that they're making these distances? I'd love to hear.
Believe them.
Probably a
basically.
spring-loaded
Blind faith.
pentrometer.
Let me guess. You guys read it in a textbook and you just 100% faith took it.
I don't
What
even
do
know.
you think about that, Truth? A spring-loaded pentrometer.
I don't know. I'm assuming the professional skeptic will explain it to me.
Do you know what a spring-loaded petrometer is, Truth Seeker?
Of course not. I do not.
You're a soils engineer, and you don't know what a spring-loaded petrometer is.
He's not a soil engineer.
Okay, so this one
Thanks
says,
for the
how
help,
many
Truth.
defined stars brightness in the terms of apparent magnitude, how bright the stars appears from Earth. So there's that word appears again, and it's not connected to brightness. So
yes, it is.
Luminosity.
Top in define apparent brightness and absolute brightness. Google that.
Absolute brightness is the brightness,
But the
the
equation
actual brightness of the star.
I know
and I don't.
there are two
and
equations
because-
here. That one
Not
relates.
how bright it
The one you're
appears at
talking
various
about relates
distances.
absolute and apparent brightness, but there's another one which relates luminosity, and I'll just get that.
So when we talk about the apparent position of the sun in the sky, you do know that it's different than the absolute position, right?
No, this is different. The absolute and apparent only concerns the
We're talking
magnitude.
about the
It's a measure of
apparent,
brightness.
right?
It's look. It's apparent can't be just transferred between words to mean the same thing in this context. Apparent brightness is specifically an astronomical term. You can't just attach apparent onto another astronomical term for it to mean roughly the same thing.
So why does the definition here say how bright the stars appears from Earth?
What's that got to do with your previous contention?
Well, it doesn't mean it's the actual brightness of the star, so it's...
Yeah, I know the actual brightness of the star is the brightness of the star at the exact radius of the star. This is as measured from us, from Earth.
Okay, so how can we do the math on something we don't know the actual brightness of an object or the actual strength of a star? How can we do the math
We
on
can't.
it?
This is the point. We cannot.
It's unknown.
They are making assumptions that they cannot provide evidence for.
We're talking about unknowns here, so you're expecting me to do the math on unknown stuff.
They don't even know how to do the math. They're baiting you because that's the last bit that they have.
We don't know how to do maths. What?
Well, I mean, you're arguing against the inverse square law. Like, we should be able to see something that the inverse square law says that we shouldn't be able to see because it's literally too far away.
That's because you're misapplying it. The inverse square law says the intensity decreases.
Show us.
It doesn't mean individual
how we're
photons can't
misapplying
make.
it.
I was just doing that before you interrupted me.
Don't claim that we're.
I was just
show us how.
Hang. The inverse square law refers to the intensity, not the actual capacity of a single photon to travel a certain distance. So,
Okay, I'm going to read the definition.
wait, are people getting sniped?
The inverse square law, a law stating that the intensity of an effect such as illumination or gravitational forces changes in inverse proportion to the square of the distance from the source.
Yeah, that's in the context of gravity, yeah, but it applies to lots of things.
It applies to illumination also.
Yeah, it applies to, radiation, and also light distribution.
Right, so it
Radio matter.
changes
Yeah.
inverse, which means it decreases.
Yeah.
Proportion to the square of the distance. So we're not just talking about 13.8 billion times quintillion. It's also 13.8 billion squared times quintillion, right? Like, wait, I said that wrong. 13.8 billion squared. So yeah, that square thing, it's
Yeah, but the thing is, I tried to explain this before Truth Seeker interrupted me. That is specifically to do with the intensity. The intensity describes a group of photons, not just one photon. The inverse square law says nothing whatsoever about a single photon's capacity to travel. It just describes of a group of photons. It doesn't mean one single photon will just fizzle out after a certain distance. It just means they'll become so spread out that the intensity will decrease.
Okay, so the way I understand light, it travels in waves if there's not a knower, and particles if there is a knower. So when we're looking at the light coming in, I'm assuming that it's traveling in particles because there's a knower.
Yeah, you can assume it's particles for this kind of example.
Right. So we're thinking about particles, and the best thing I can come up with, me being a good old boy from Texas, is a shotgun blast, right? And the way that a shotgun blast kind of works the same way. You shoot the shell, and the particles start spreading out. Now, how far would the particle spread out if it was 13.8 billion light years?
It'd spread out a lot, but that's not the point. The point is one single one of those particles will keep traveling. The inverse square law does not describe one single particle's, like, whether it's just going to fizzle out after a certain distance. It just means that the distribution of particles is going to be so massive that it's going to decrease in brightness. But it doesn't mean that single photons won't still travel that direction.
And what about all the things
Like just consider your shotgun example. If you shoot it and you have all these bullets going out, the inverse square law refers to how close each bullet is to each other. It has nothing to do with the actual trajectory of one of those bullets itself.
What about dark matter making up 20 something percent of the universe?
Yeah, dark matter's a placeholder. It's basically
please don't interrupt.
Yeah, it's a placeholder for now. That's something all of science readily admits we don't know. It could just mean that Newtonian mechanics breaks down on a stellar scale, or it could be force. We admit it, and scientists will probably figure it out in the next 100 years or so, maybe even less.
Yeah, I know that. Thanks for reminding me. So you don't got to figure it out, but it is there. It has to be there for the.
Yeah, well, I mean, from one observation,
if you don't mind.
What?
Don't interrupt me, please. So the light is traveling from 13.8 billion light.
Oh, okay, sorry, I went.
Yeah, thanks again. So it has to dodge all the dark matter because light can't pass through it or bounce off of it. So it's dodging all this dark matter and other things like nebula clouds and other stars and planets and there's rogue planets and rogue asteroids and comets and all this other stuff that it dodges just to get here. I mean, it's kind of like the magic bullet. It's an impossible shot.
Yeah, but I see what you're saying, but if you refer to Paper Explanator's the original thing he said there's 10 to the power of 44 photons being emitted. That is 10 with 44 zeros behind it. So yeah, a lot of them will be absorbed, but 10 to the
in all directions.
That's a huge number. It's literally incomprehensible.
They're emitted in all directions, right? But we're only concerned about the lights that actually are facing towards the Earth. So yeah, the sun is emitting all kinds of particles from all different directions, but there's only one tiny little spot on each star where the light is pointed towards the Earth. So that number, let's shrink it down. Let's say 99.9%, maybe 99.99. Right. So take that number. Yeah.
I would work it by comparing the actual circle surface areas of the sun compared to the Earth. It's probably not going to be 99 to 1 or whatever. Let me work it out actually.
Well, this is also the distance, right? So we're talking about only the part of the star where it's facing the Earth, and all the other particles are going to completely miss. Then the inverse square law says that it's going to, disperse the particles even more, so those are going to miss too, even though it was facing the Earth originally. So, yeah, we're talking about a very small amount. I don't know if you realize how small that amount. I can't do math, but my intuition says that it's a much smaller number.
It's lucky because Nick can do math. He's really good.
Yeah, it is a small number, but the thing is the individual photons, they still get there at the end of the day. And 10 to the 44 is an absolutely huge number. So, I mean, yes, there will be some matter that collides with these photons, which means they don't reach us. But again, that's space isn't that dense. It's not a perfect vacuum, that's true. There are particles in space, but there are so few particles that they're not going to sweep up all 44 photons.
I'm looking at the actual data on that. So your typical sea level atmosphere is about 2.5 times 10 to the 25th molecules per square meter. I think that is, it's per square meter. 2.5 times 10 to the 25th, whereas in deep space, it's like sometimes as low as 1 atom per cubic centimeter.
But what's the variable between Earth and space?
Just so I can introduce you, we've been joined by Epistemology for Truth. Thank you for being here. That was who you just listened to.
Thanks. Yeah, so, I mean, you're probably looking through more stuff, looking at 100 miles across the horizon of the atmosphere than you are looking light years into space, as far as how much matter is between you and the point source.
So the variable would be the distance from here to the edge of the solar system, right? So that variable is, quintillion times.
But do you get what I'm telling you, Hank? I'm saying that because of the density of the atmosphere, right? You're talking an unfathomably large number as far as the number of atoms for every cubic centimeter of atmosphere that light has to pass through for you to look through the atmosphere, right? I mean, you're talking about a number with 25 zeros after it. You're talking about a huge number as to the number of atoms in the atmosphere, right? As opposed to deep space where that number goes down to just a few atoms. So from 10 to the 10 to the 25th to as little as 1 or 2.
Everybody, please take note that I got a baller to invoke density.
But no,
We
do you
don't
get what
deny
do you get what I'm saying?
density. What's wrong with you?
That was funny.
We're the ones that know what density is.
Right, it requires gravity. So
Density does not require gravity.
You'll find that gravitational
Density
acceleration
does
is
not
independent of
require
mass and therefore
gravity.
Yeah.
Look, I was only joking. Just trying to.
It's a bad joke. Bad joke, yeah.
Well, what he was trying to say is the amount of particles in the air that we shouldn't see anything because the air that we
Hey Nick,
is so much
Nick,
more dense than in space. What?
can you cite a source for what you were saying before on how the one photon is acting different than the whole group of photons? I'd love to see the source of that information.
Do I need a source? Because if you think about bullets, they're divergent. And the actual trajectory of a single bullet. I mean, I don't think I need to provide a source for that.
Yeah, no, I get the logic.
We have approximately 15 minutes left on this live broadcast, so if you did want to join, be sure to mute the page you are currently watching and simply click on the link below this video to join the show and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you did want to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside the show, and if you are not subscribed already, which is about 50% of the people watching this, click the subscribe button and the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. If you've not done so already, also share the show on social media, and I will transition you back to the action. You may see me one more time before I thank the audience for being here.
And if you can show me how it works mathematically, that'd be great. But if you could show me through the scientific method, that'd be even better. Then we could call it science.
But Hank, Paper did show you, didn't he? Came in. We just saw Riley's Hangout playing it earlier. I mean, we're not good at it, but he did come in and do it. He showed you that 3,000 photons will land on your eye, on your retina, when you only need like 4 or 5 to see something, and you like 3,000. It shows you
that the star on the rear side is going to hit the Earth, I think, and that's not the case. It's pointed in the opposite direction. Obviously, it's going to go 13.8 billion years in the other direction. That's what he thought.
Yeah, he meant as a spreading out like a sphere.
A coronal mass ejection is matter. The matter is going in one direction. The radiation from it, the light, is going to go in all directions. You can't use that.
In all directions, most of that's going to
be able to see it. You're going to be able to see it without the mass coming towards you. You see what I'm saying?
He showed was his assumptive mathematics. He didn't show us how he arrived at some of the values. He just showed that, yes, assuming that what he's saying is
that's
correct,
all Hank
is mathematically feasible.
Dude.
He didn't actually show us where he got these values.
Why would anybody show you anything? You claim to be a soils engineer, and you don't even know what a penetrometer is.
Math is only as good as its creator and its intention. Math can be made to set anything.
You're only as good as your lies.
You really have been brainwashed by the flat Earth meme.
Go hit your fist on your keyboard and tell me how good letters are.
Somebody else.
Math can be done the same way. Math can be abused in the same way that language.
Math can be abused.
So quit trying to act like it cannot be. Math is a language.
Show us how math can be abused. Show us that then.
Well, give some to A4. A4 will probably abuse it.
You guys are great. You're great at bringing up these equations and trying to debunk us. But the second we ask you how you arrived at these equations or these
We're not
thoughts,
debunking
you're
you.
speechless because you're just going off of blind secondhand sources. You don't
show us why you think maths is wrong. Then show us why it's being abused.
All right. Okay. Let's look at the most credible way there. I want to analyze the most credible way that you guys will agree on that they're determining these star distances.
No, you made the statement that maths can be distorted. You like to make these big statements and throw these in there, but you can never back up any of the statements you're making.
Math is a language, and it's only as good as its creator and its intention. Okay.
And can you back up? Can you give us an example of that?
I start smashing buttons. I'm not saying that's a great equation to predict rocket physics, but guess what? There are numbers that can be put into the calculation that will mirror reality. And it'll look really close. Is it reality? No, but it will mirror reality.
How do you know it's not? How do you know? Give an example.
An example that made you think this. That showed you, made you think, oh yeah, maths
star distances, the quintillions and quintillions of miles that are calculated daily, which we don't see the actual evidence for in physical, repeatable reality.
But you don't know either way how far they are. So give us an actual example.
And using the Nikon P900 footage, I know that something quintillions of miles away can't be zoomed in on with an 80 times zoom.
Oh my God!
Wow.
Oh, you don't know anything then. If you think you know that,
I know that
then
we've
you
been
don't know
lied to.
anything.
I know we've been lied to.
By
Yeah,
you.
flat earthers, man.
We've been lied to by you.
And you, yeah.
You
No,
think
but even the
you
distances,
think you
all
know
we're
something
asking is
that you don't know.
how are you even calculating these miles? And you can't. It's
I'm
cricket.
not.
It's
I'm not calculating
cricket.
them.
We're just
No,
asking.
show
How,
us.
We told you,
how do
I don't know. That's not my speciality. Like, sorry, I don't know everything
But
about
so you
science.
admit it's not
Well,
your
I thought
best,
Nick
but
was
you're
good
so
at math.
confident. You're so confident to assert that we're wrong in every claim.
Yeah,
that
because
you
you're wrong
But
about basic
you
things.
you don't even know the very mathematics you're claiming to be the
Why would I
judgment.
distrust something if I don't know, if I haven't got any
Because
credible evidence to distrust it?
You're claiming that
I've
our
been
evidence isn't
skeptical.
good. Yet you don't even know the evidence you're presenting. This is a joke.
I'm not presenting this as evidence. What are you talking about? I'm saying I don't know how they calculate stuff, but I was asking you to show something, like a statement you made about maths, because I'd like to know
Yes,
that.
okay.
Show us that.
I'm calling out the math on the stars.
Yeah, but show us
I'm-
how you know that it's
Yeah.
everything's manipulating. Maths
Can
can be
you do
manipulated.
math?
I
Yeah,
know,
can-
I know literally just from a perspective angle, something that is quintillions of miles away will not quadruple in size with an 80 times zoom lens. It just won't.
So once again, it has something to do with your feelings and perceptions. No actual
Yeah,
basis
my
of knowledge
five
or
senses which perceive
There
reality.
you go. Yes, and
far,
everyone's
so
senses
far.
are the same,
What are
right?
your senses?
And everyone's senses aren't flawed.
Your senses are secondhand sources which you can't verify for yourself. So I'd rather go off somebody
No,
whose
they
five
have been
senses are
verified. That's the
trustworthy
thing. Your
rather than the
senses
guy
could be
who
flawed.
would just believe anything that's spoon-fed to him. I'd rather trust the guy going off his five senses.
Does anybody think that it's
Okay,
weird?
and
I made arguments.
that's ridiculous.
As far
It's
as I
so
know,
ignorant.
it was the first time
Or
anyone.
are you just upset that humans are finally
And then
putting trust back
paper
in their
automatically
senses,
had done
which
the
you
math.
guys have tried for centuries to get us not to trust?
So, how could paper have already done the math and I just made the argument like 5 minutes earlier? If you go back and watch Nathan's original video, he came on like 5 minutes after I made the argument and said that he already done the math and it works out.
Right.
I mean, doesn't it take a little more time to do the
You
math?
did the math on what, Hank? What specifically?
Well, he said he did the math and the math works out. That
the math on what?
Didn't block the light, and then I started identifying.
What specific math, Hank? I'm asking you, please. What are you referring to specifically? The sun?
No, not the sun. I wasn't. My argument never was we shouldn't be able to see the sunlight.
Okay. Well, what math did he bring specifically that you're calling into question?
I don't know. He never said this is the math that I brought.
Okay. Well, whatever. How do you know that whatever star he was talking about that he has not done this previously before?
The maths that
in the history of his life,
based on an
why,
assumption.
Why do you think it's only done in response to your question? Why do you find that so unbelievable and attempting to attack him?
I'm not attacking him.
And yeah, you're throwing shade. You're trying to imply that he was making it up. How did he do the math so quickly?
Well,
blah 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 blah.
Math, then show us.
You're failing to take into account.
I think he assumed he knew what the inverse square law was because it's quite easy to plug values into it.
Okay, so show us the equation. Let me try to work it out for myself. I mean, I'm not good at math, but
You could have asked him at the time. I mean, all he was trying to explain to you is why the inverse square law doesn't make you can still see the light. That's all he was saying.
So show us in the math where are we making a mistake? It's that simple. You keep saying we're making
the mistake in the math is wrong, gentlemen.
You don't have any math. You don't have any math to show the mistake in.
I understand about as much maths as I do. What would be the point in looking at it?
Anthony,
You don't have anything to
Sun 93 million miles away. That's
Make
an
an
assumption, it's
argument,
not fact.
present a case.
Hold on, I ran some quick numbers here for Hank because I wanted to see for my own personal interest. I'm going back to the stuff in interstellar space not blocking the light, and so I looked at the density. So the density in space and interstellar space is roughly, and it changes obviously depending on if there's something nearby that could be blocking that, which you can see through a telescope, right? In areas where you have nebulas, right, which is actually going to block the light behind it. But we're talking about in regular interstellar space, the density is about 1 atom in every cubic centimeter of space. Whereas in your typical sea level atmosphere, there are 2.5 molecules for 2.5 times 10 to the 19th molecules, which is like, oxygen and, so we're talking more than that, obviously atoms, because these molecules are made of multiple atoms, but we'll pretend that instead of their molecules, they're atoms. So 2.5 times 10 to the 19th. So that's how much more dense the air is full of stuff than interstellar space. But, okay, but hold on a second. So if you agree with the longest lines of sight, which people have seen mountains, far in the desert across the Mediterranean, I guess the longest lines of sight is about 365 miles, where someone can see a very, very distant mountain from another mountain far away, right? So clearly they're able to see through 365 miles of atmosphere.
So how many atoms?
Hold on a second. Hold on a second. Let me finish real quick.
Sorry.
So if you go into Google and you divide 16,000 light years by 365 miles, that means that if you were to break that up into how many chunks of 365 miles fit into a 16,000 light years, which is the furthest star that's like naked eye visible, it's 2.5 times 10 to the 14th. Whereas the density increase is 2.5 times 10 to the 19th. So you're actually looking at less stuff in the way from here to 16,000 light years than you are looking at the longest lines of sight on Earth, where you're looking through far more atoms.
Assuming
Can we get a cubed meter of empty space on Earth here?
Okay, well, you guys are going to change the subject now, but that's what I'm trying to tell you.
Chris, can you just let Hank and epistemology get to the end of their
analogous vacuum here on Earth to space?
What does it matter? You asked about
because
this.
he's assuming the particles.
You asked
You
about
can easily make
density
vacuum
of space.
chambers.
But you're assuming that you know the amount of particles in the atmosphere.
I'm also assuming that space isn't full of jello either, right?
I'm not saying it's full of jello, but
It's not full of dark matter too, but only when you need it.
Credibility on knowing.
Well,
You're just assuming it's not full of jello, true.
You pick and choose what aspects you want it. So you accepted that science readily admits that space is not devoid of matter, that space still has matter in it, even the deepest spots of interstellar space.
You're picking and choosing.
I never said I
That's what
accept that.
just
I'm
accused you of. The
how
dark
did you
matter would,
compare the
make
amount
up
of
like 23%
molecules
of
in
the
the
universe.
atmosphere versus in outer space? How did you actually verify the molecules in the atmosphere versus outer space? Can we make a cubic meter of vacuum space on Earth? Is that I'm trying to work with you here. Is that how you did it? What was it?
I don't understand what the question is.
So your whole argument assumes that you know how many molecules or things are going to be in a square meter of atmosphere, and then you know how much are going to be in a square meter of the space vacuum. So you clearly are asserting that you know the average amount of molecules in a square meter of space.
All that I'm
just
asserting
asking,
is Hank was making a statement based on scientific information that he's saying that the scientific information is essentially contradictory. And what I'm telling him is if you go off the stated scientific numbers they give you, the numbers work out just fine. There is no contradiction. Now, if you want to go and claim that space is not what it is, or the stars are not as far as they are, or anything, then if you want to just throw everything out, then that's fine. You don't have to accept it. But what I'm saying is there is no contradiction as far as what science states.
Unless you take into consideration there might be some dark matter in between us and 13.8 billion light years away.
We don't know what dark matter is, so can't.
Right, but we know it has to be there, right? The math says so, right?
Not necessarily.
You are the ones who are picking and choosing right now.
No, dark matter is not necessarily explained.
They
by
don't know what it is. They
that.
know it's there. They don't know if it is there. Sometimes it's there when it's convenient. It's there when it's not convenient. But
it's not convenient for it to be there.
We're just saying it's
now,
not.
So we
It's
don't know
not.
what it is.
It's not definitely verified to be physical matter. So, yeah.
Just like the globe and gravity, it's not. It's never been verified.
Why call it matter if it's not physical
You can
matter?
easily verify Newton's law of gravitation.
Yeah, that's another thing. What about gravitational lensing? Wouldn't that refract the light and also bend the starlight away from, the
You're taking too many globe ideas
gravitational
literal.
lensing bends light, right? And that's a fact. And there's lots of gravity out there in the universe. So from 13.8 billion light years away, wouldn't that refract the light and bend away from the Earth?
Only around really large stars, yeah.
No, hold on. Don't interrupt. I'm identifying variables. That's what science is, right? So that's all I'm trying to do right now. And I'm not picking and choosing. I'm just identifying variables.
You're making a desperate attempt to act like you're debunking something.
Identifying variables is not a desperate attempt. It's not a logical fallacy. It's science.
Identify the interaction of light and dark matter.
I can't because dark matter...
Okay, then don't bring it up, Hank. Be consistent, Hank.
This is why you guys are losing a debate. We're actually trying to show you fallacies.
Oh
and
my
wrong
God.
points.
Oh, man.
And no, just listen, and then you go,
Can't
oh,
measure
well,
ankles,
don't bring up
can't
dark
do
matter.
anything.
We don't even know what it is.
Sorry to
Well,
interrupt again, guys. Truth, if you can just let Hank and Epistemology and Nick just get to the end of this, because we've got about 5 minutes left, and I'm rooting for Hank. I really am. I know I'm supposed to be unbiased, but I just want to get them to the end of their point. I know you want to get your words into. Oh, he's just dropped.
Right.
I'll keep Stum for the next 5 minutes, but I will round out in a few minutes' time. So yeah, if you can just let them get through, if you can just let them get through Truth, that'd be greatly appreciated.
4 minutes, since there's 2 of you. So my closing statement is, I'm not saying that I got it all figured out. I'm just coming up with theories, because that's what I'm good at, and talking things out and presenting stuff to smarter people so that they can work things out. And I'm not coming at this from a flat Earth perspective. I'm coming at this from a mainstream cosmological perspective. So I'm working on you guys' model, and I'm not dismissing things based on flat Earth evidence or anything like that. So if you guys could work out the math and then make a video showing how the inverse square law doesn't dissipate the light enough to where we can't see it from that far away, and please try to take into consideration the variables, atmospheric lensing, gravitational lensing, the other variables I mentioned, the particles, dark matter, just
Hank,
add all that in your equation, and you've got the floor.
Hank, can I ask what is the actual point?
Well, the point is the age of the universe. You guys claim to know the age of the universe, and
what I'm saying is, what's the ultimate point of finding out whatever the answer is you think you might get? So let's just say, for example, everything's wrong about the age of the universe. Then what's the actual point? What are you trying to find out ultimately?
Well, let's find the real actual age.
This all started off with obviously talking about the shape of the Earth and.
No. I never.
No. But this is what I'm saying. So what is the point? You know what I mean? What is it you're trying to learn? Just the age of the universe?
The actual age of the universe, because you find it all over the internet that it's 13.8 billion light years, and the inverse square law might say different, and then you take into consideration the variables. Science has been wrong before. Our first president was bled to death because we thought it would cure his pneumonia. So let's get better science. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, can I just interject just for 1 second? I'm sorry to just pop this in. Sorry, Hank. Basically, it is relevant to the shape of the Earth on account of the fact that in the trigonometry there's a presupposition that you're on a sphere, and that's why we have these massive astronomical distances, because when you triangulate the stars on a sphere it puts them at huge distances away from us. Now obviously from a flat Earth perspective they would say no, you would triangulate it on a flat plane and come up with much lower distances, but Hank is saying that he accepts your model. He accepts that you are on a sphere, and he accepts those
we don't triangulate star distances on the sphere of the Earth. We triangulate. We use parallax along the Earth's orbital axis.
Well, everyone. He could see how this would appeal to a flat earther. This argument.
And the moon doesn't triangulate to be 13 billion light years away.
Yeah, where's the dark matter in between us and the moon?
Who says there is any?
Well, there's not any observable dark matter.
There's nothing that says there's any dark matter in the solar system that I'm aware of.
There's dark matter, so
in the solar system that I'm aware of.
The other side to this is, how do you decide which part of the scientific theories or whatever that you actually are willing to accept? Is it just going to be the ones that fit some kind of presupposition that you have? Because you talk about like the inverse square law. The inverse square law to be accurate and true. So actually, the same people are working with all this stuff and giving you the information that you're trying to question. So how do you know what to believe yourself?
It's called discernment. If it resonates and makes sense, and and like when you guys say
right, but do you believe that the people who actually developed the maths and developed the techniques for observing the universe and things like that don't have the discernment?
Look, I'm just a theorist, man. I'm just theorizing. I'm getting I'm trying to figure out why things are the way they are.
And with that, I'm going to first and foremost say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to our live audience for watching the show. And, of course, a massive thank you to all of the panel for making this debate possible. Be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.